everyone, and welcome to Adoptions from the Heart TV. I'm your host, Amanda Aliberti. Today we are here to welcome Patrick and Jennifer, who were recently placed with their daughter. They're going to share their experience of working with Adoptions from the Heart and just let us know a little bit about building their family. So welcome, Jennifer and Patrick.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Can you guys start from the beginning of when you decided that adoption was in fact the right plan for you to build your family and why you chose Adoptions from the Heart?
So we actually decided to stop fertility treatment. At one point, I found out at a younger age that I had PCOS. So adoption was always in the back of my mind, and I have family members who adopted their children as well. And at one point, the doctor said, it's like, if it's not working this time, it's not going to work. Or we got to be more aggressive with it at that point. So we really stepped back and reflected on ourselves and what we wanted to do. And Patrick had a friend from high school that he played in the band with, and he saw that he adopted, and it was through Adoptions from the Heart. So Patrick reached out to him and he said, yeah, come over for dinner. And he sat down with us and went through all like the paperwork and the process and how the agency was. And at that point we knew like this is what we wanted to do. This is the right agency for us.
It can be challenging and overwhelming of what route do we take, what agency do we pick. You know, you guys are in the state of Pennsylvania, so you can work privately through an attorney. Like, what were your expectations of what you wanted the role of an agency to play in your story to be?
Well, we actually hadn't done that much research at the time, and I remembered this friend having posted about his story a year beforehand, and it kind of clicked, and so we reached out to him. And when we talked to him, it was so clear and so not easy, but so smooth from their perspective that's where we started. We looked up a few other agencies, and none of them felt right. So we hadn't even approached the attorney option, but we just knew that with our gut feel that this was the place for us to be.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
And what was your relationship like with your social worker going through the process and just having the backbone of somebody there to kind of guide you?
Oh, we love working with Sheila.
Yeah.
She is great. She is so engaged with everything, and like she kind of put her mind at ease, and like especially the home study, like that really made us nervous. But she's easy to talk to and held her hand the whole time, and
she was clear at the very beginning that it was not going to be an easy journey, and that there was a lot of work to do. But we were engaged the whole time, and she was there to answer all of our questions, and it was comforting to have questions and to get the answers right away instead of having to do our own research.
Sure.
Figure things out. So.
And it's important for folks to remember that that's the point of working with an agency, is to have a social worker be there to guide you and answer your questions. It's not just about getting a quick home study approval. They're really there to take you through the process and make sure that you're as prepared as you can be for what's about to happen. Now, how long would you say from when you applied to our program to when you became active in the Waiting Family Profile book? How long was that time period?
It was April. We submitted our application to the agency, and then we became active January 6th.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
6th.
And that's about the time frame that we normally suggest to folks that it will take from when you apply to when you become active. And by active, that means you're being shown for potential situations. Usually it's about a 4 to 6 month process that you go through your home study, your educational classes, how to create your profile, all that good stuff to get you ready. Now, once you became active, how long until you got the call for your little one?
10.5 weeks.
Yeah.
10.5 weeks. That is definitely not common.
We were prepared to wait, because I was like, it's either going to happen right away, like in a month, or we're waiting 2 years. Like there was no in between. And
I did not think a month, and so she thought, well, I guess it's going to be 2 years then. And I was like, there's an in between. And even still, we were very fortunate, and we know that. So
what was that like when you got that call that there was a placement?
So we got the call at 7 o'clock at night, and the request was to meet the birth parents at 1 o'clock in Connecticut on Friday. We live just outside of Philadelphia, so it was about a 4-hour drive till we got to Connecticut, so it's always going to be a 5-hour drive. So we got there right on time, and we went in and we met the birth parents at the agency, which was a tough thing overall. It was clearly very somber for them, and we were clearly very, very happy. So it was sobering to realize that what brought us joy was very painful for some other folks. And so we were humbled right away, and we had that first conversation with the birth father and the birth mother. It was tough for her.
She got up and left.
Mm-hmm.
She said, I just can't be here. And emotionally and physically, she was in pain, which is 100% understandable.
Because the baby had already been born at this point, right? So this was an emergency placement, baby had already been born, and placement happened afterwards. And you meeting the birth parents happened after the baby was born.
Yes.
Okay.
After that, after about an hour of conversation with the birth father, and doing all the paperwork and everything, they were ready to go, and it was our turn to follow the Connecticut social worker to the hospital. And that drive was very exciting, to kind of just go through the traffic on a Friday afternoon in Connecticut, just following to get to the hospital and meet our baby.
I think it's important to note that there is always a separate social worker for the adoptive family and then for the birth family. So Sheila, who was your worker in Pennsylvania, was there to provide you guidance and whatnot in preparations. But once you actually go to placement, it's the birth parent social worker who kind of takes over in terms of the logistical things of signing paperwork and the coordination of placement. But the Connecticut worker was really there to service the birth family and make sure that they tended to their needs and whatnot. And then Sheila was able to do everything virtually or over phone.
Yes.
Okay, good. Knowing that you were able to at least have that meeting with the birth parents, even though it was really hard, was that meaningful and something that you're going to kind of always bring to your education with your daughter?
Yes, we sat and talked to her birth father for a while, and we learned a lot about him and his family and what they're like Pat's Italian and her birth father's Italian, and they shared like common things like the big family dinners and sauce, and it was really nice to connect that way. And
Rose is named after his mother. And so learning a little bit about her is definitely something we're going to share with her as she grows older. So that was a very important moment. And we also got to learn that, they chose us. He mentioned a couple things in our profile that stood out and why he chose us and why they chose us. And that was really important for us because it felt validating after, the whole process and wondering who's going to pick us and why we're putting this in the profile and everything. So it was a very nice conversation that we'll hold on to.
And so in your situation, the birth parents had already chosen her name?
Yes.
And you guys were able to keep the name because you wanted to respect their wishes. I think that's a really big deal for people to listen in on. Naming is always a hot topic for babies, but the fact that you were able to do that really shows your dedication and commitment to the birth family, knowing that that's something they wanted to give her. And something you'll share with her as she grows up to understand her birth story and where her name came from.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great. So fast forward to today, what does your open relationship look like with birth family?
So we went to the Connecticut picnic, and we met up with her birth mother, who, it was a very emotional meeting. It didn't last that long, but because she just was having a tough time.
It was hard.
Yeah, it was hard. But you could tell she obviously loves Rose still, and she wasn't like hostile or anything. Like she was, I don't know, she thanked us at one point, and
got to hold Rose.
She held Rose, and it's hard to explain the experience for me, because there was just so many emotions, and it was I guess it's harder because her birth father did pass away a week before. We were supposed to meet them for the first time, for the first visit, and so there was more than just the regular emotions there, and like we're upset that Rose won't have that relationship with her birth father, but
we were, in our letters and everything, we were telling both of them how excited we were to meet them, and we were looking forward to that a lot. And so when we got the news that he had passed away, it was kind of a shock to everybody.
And I know we were emotional because we met this man one time and
connected to him so well, so quickly.
And he gave us the greatest gift that we could ever receive, and we owe him so much. And now,
well, and those
it's
are
a hard part.
Those are the things that you're going to talk with her about, right? So it's unfortunate, things happen in life, and birth parents may pass away, but you guys have that beautiful memory of meeting him and talking with him and having those conversations about his Italian heritage and making sauce with his family. Like, those are things that you can cherish. And we always tell families, like, be as present as you can in those moments, because you don't know if you're going to get another one. So whether you're meeting the birth parents for the first time at the hospital, or if they're pregnant and they're meeting you for a pre-placement meeting, like, really sit in on that, absorb as much as you can. If you're able to get a photo, that's great, because you can share that with your little one. But be as engaged as you can, and we're so sorry to hear that her birth father passed away, but it sounds like his desires for her to have a good life through adoption were kept, and she's going to grow up knowing that he loved her enough to make this plan for her.
And we did get a picture before we went to the hospital with him, so that's in her room, and we have one of her with her birth mother that's going to go in there as well.
That's wonderful. Well, and it sounds like you're still committed to her knowing her story, still having a relationship with birth mom and any extended birth family. Did the extended birth family come to the visit as well, or was it just birth mom?
They did not. She wanted to come alone.
Okay.
But her birth father does have another daughter who's older.
Okay.
And she's close to our age.
Yep.
Yeah, and so we would like to have a relationship with her and meet his family, and her birth mother's not as close to her family, but she's close to his.
She's very close to his, and the last we heard from the Connecticut social worker was that she's still with them and still talking to them. So the opportunity is there, the next visit, that some people will join us. So we do hope Rose meets her half-sister, and
it's more people to love her.
Yep, absolutely.
And how old is Rose now?
She is 5 months today.
5 months today. Wow. So just kind of looking back of full circle of kind of everything that has gone on, any advice you would have for other families, especially the ones that may be struggling, whether they're still at the beginning and just trying to navigate what adoption will look like, or maybe couples that are in the waiting family profile book that are like, oh, is this ever going to happen? Just advice that you would have for folks.
The anxiety's worth it. The struggle of like the everyday, like, oh, it's taking longer than I want it to be. You gotta go in knowing that it is a long process, but at the end you're holding a baby.
And I think the beginning, like you said, be engaged with all of it. Be engaged with the birth family, but be engaged with the process as well. I think we took to heart all of the educational courses, all of the webinars with panels that were...
Panels were great for us.
So we got to see a lot of... I don't think we saw any repeat stories of these two families are exactly the same. There was, this family had two boys from different families, this family had twins, all of these different stories were making this tapestry of what could our future hold. And we had no idea what it was going to hold, but now we're part of that tapestry as well. It's pretty wonderful.
That's great. Well, you had mentioned some of the resources that we have at the agency, and I appreciate you saying that because it can be a struggle. There are a lot of educational classes that you are required to take. We also have additional resources such as educational series or our online webinars that you can find through our website that are optional. But it sounds like you took a lot of those, and there's actually a lot of great content that can help you in preparing. So take them. Use them, hear people's stories. Like you said, no two stories are ever the same. So the more that you're engaged in the material and the content, it can help you in preparing for these moments. And one of the things I really like about your story in particular, you've had a lot of layers to your building of your family. And while you were matched rather quickly, which doesn't always happen that fast, it's still important to note that you were in it as you were going, even with birth father passing away. That added like a big piece to the emotionalness of everything. But you always had the values of open adoption at the forefront of what you were doing and are doing moving forward, and that's only going to make you better parents to Rose.
And we really did find a lot of value in the education and the panels, and hearing from birth mothers during those panels. That one really got to us, and we really got a lot out of it. And even because sometimes there was like a month or so in between two of the courses, and we filled that in with the panels and all that stuff. And that's one reason why we chose Adoption from the Heart.
And a lot of the webinars we heard from birth mom, the birth mom was there with the adopted family and the adopted child, and those were all wonderful stories. But we did hear one story of a birth mom who was representing, she was just there by herself, her birth family wasn't there. We learned that they had promised her that they would take the name that she requested, and then within 6 months it wasn't on the legal document, it wasn't what they were calling the child, so they had essentially lied, and she was heartbroken. And she was the only person who just admitted that she regretted her decision, and that broke our hearts. So it's things like that just make us want to be as engaged as possible and continue to keep in touch with the birth mom.
Yeah, we really want to have a good relationship with her birth family.
Wonderful. Well, we appreciate you being here. You know, it's so important that our community can hear from folks who have lived it, and we value your story. And good luck with Rose in the future. Thanks, guys, and continue to tune in to future episodes.